Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Now this video is about the aviation rule that should apply to every rider out there. Now this aviation rule that we go by, especially as a flight instructor, is something called Aviate, Navigate, Communicate. So pilots are trained that when something goes wrong or it gets really busy, in the flight deck itself, there's a strict priority order for where our attention has to go. And that's first of all aviate. So that's flying the aircraft, more so just figuring out what you're doing with the aircraft, where you are, where you're going. That's part of the navigate side of things. And then communicate. So once again, aviate, navigate, communicate. So fly the aircraft, which is aviate, figure out where you are, where you're going, that's navigate, and who you're then going to talk to, which is ATC, passengers, or on the radio. That's part of the communicate side of it. Now the big thing, and why this translates over to motorcycling quite well, is this rule solves task saturation. So when there's too much happening all at once, people without training or without thinking in this thought process instinctively just try to do everything simultaneously and end up doing all of it badly. So this is why that rule exists, because panic scrambles priority. So pilots train in that order until it's pretty much automatic, and it's a great thing for us as motorcyclists to pretty much take heed of and incorporate into our riding. And as riders, we face the exact same task as well. We have moments where we're fully saturated, traffic is coming out of nowhere or suddenly changing, someone pulls in front of you, phone buzzing in your intercom, passenger trying to talk to you at the same time, you're taking a wrong turn, messed up a corner, anything like that. And most of us as riders have never been taught what order to actually handle things in. So first of all, how can we apply this to riding now? So let's start with aviating. So when it comes to aviating, you want to control the bike first above everything else. So this one is a non-negotiable and your main top priority. So whatever else is happening, your basic control of you handling the bikes with your throttle, your balance, your line and braking comes before anything else, and that's always. For example, let's say GPS says for you to take an exit, you realize late and you panic, you swerve. Aviating in that sense means staying in control and just simply miss that exit rather than compromise control to make that exit, rather than brake hard, suddenly swerve, someone's behind you, and then you're putting other people in danger. Another one here is, a bug hits your visor while you're riding, your phone buzzes, something falls off your bike. The aviate portion, when this translates to most motorcycling, means that you finish riding the bike properly first. Deal with everything else after if it's not urgent. And most rider panic moments come from briefly abandoning the aviate side of things to fix something that's of lesser priority. So the small problem then becomes the greater problem. So that's why we have that saying, aviate first, and in the riding sense, control the bike first. Next up is navigate. So you have to know where you are and where you're going, and that comes after aviate. So only once the bike is genuinely under control, so you've got a handle of what you're doing with the bike, then you worry about, okay, your route, where you're going to position yourself on the lane, and actually where you're going. So missing a turn, as we mentioned before, is fine. You can come and go off at the next exit. You then just have to recalculate a new route, or turning around safely is the navigating side of things. So it's not an emergency, but you do want to get onto it essentially. So it shouldn't be treated with the urgency of the aviate problem. I've done a video about just recently that I released about riders doing this one thing that I wish that they didn't do, and that's not thinking further enough ahead. So make sure to watch that video if you haven't already. But same again, this all includes about forward planning prior. So like your fuel, your weather, the route that you're going, what hazards could you take? It's all that kind of big picture thinking, not just your immediate positioning. Next up is the communicate portion of it. So once again, we've now had aviate, which is your top priority. We've now had navigate, which is second priority, and communicate. So in a motorcycling sense, that is, talking, signaling, and interacting, and this is going to come last. So whether that's communicate in the form of indicating to others, we hopefully or you hopefully are using your indicators on your bike, waving others through, talking to passengers, via intercom, headset, all that comes last after you actually control the bike and have sorted out your navigation. So once that's all done, then you move on to this. Another good example of this is trying to signal or wave at another rider while you're still working through a tricky bit of road. It's a classic case of pretty much doing communicate before you're aviating, or essentially before you're actually controlling the bike. So if you're in a tight, twisty road, you're having to focus on body position, your throttle control, braking, having to worry about moving your arm off the handlebars to wave at another rider, that's essentially putting, once again, communicate first instead of aviate. It's a small thing, but it's the exact kind of priority inversion that the rule prevents. So it is worth noting that communicate isn't unimportant. It just has to be sequenced, correctly and not skipped, but it has to be in order of priority. And the priority for all these is mainly for safety. If you're going to aviate or you're going to ride the bike first, that keeps you and the bike under control. Navigating, cool. It's not as urgent, but you need to know where you're going. So once you get onto the correct route that you want to go, it's fine. And then communicate, once again, not an urgent thing, but you do want to let people know what you're doing, or in that kind of sense afterwards, after you've actually kept yourself and your motorcycle safe. So a good mental trigger that you can use in your riding next time you're out is when something unexpected actually happens on the ride. Just consciously ask yourself at this point in time, am I actually riding the motorcycle right now? So I know you're literally riding the motorcycle, you're on the bike, but are you actually riding the motorcycle? Are you in control of the bike, or is the bike in control of you? So you need to have that down before you react to anything else. And I also have another good framework. If you're new to this channel, I do have a free PDF guide that you can download, which is a 6-step aviation checklist adapted for motorcycling. And there's a reason why, as pilots, flight instructors, we have these kind of checklists. That's just so we don't miss anything, especially critical items that are safe, because task saturation is a proven and common failure point. And with the inherent risk in aviation, it's the same with motorcycling. As riders, we just have inherently greater risk compared to driving in a car. So that's why the two can correlate so well. Cool. So when you're next riding, try to incorporate a little bit of this: aviate, navigate, communicate. So that's the aviation rule that you should apply to your riding, and just adapt it to yourself. I know it's in aviation terms, but once again, ride the motorcycle, you're in control of the bike, then navigate where you're going, figure that out, and then communicate in whichever way you need to. And sometimes you might not need to do the communicate section or part of it when you're actually riding. It might just be ride the motorcycle, be in control of it, and then figure out where you are, what you're doing, not exactly necessarily where you're tracking. Essentially, if you're riding to destination XYZ, but where your positioning is on the road and all that kind of stuff. So if you've heard of this, that's awesome. Hopefully it just gives you a little bit of a practical sense on how you can apply it to your riding, and just a few examples for you here. Thank you for watching the video. Hopefully you did get just a little nugget from it. And if you do have any questions on this kind of stuff, feel free to chuck them in the comments below, or if you want me to do a specific video on something itself, once again, chuck it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer. But once again, if you haven't seen any of my other videos and you're newer to this channel, be sure to check them out. I try to bring my aviation perspective as a flight instructor to the world of motorcycling. And if you do enjoy the content, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.